Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Monday, October 24th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Penn State game is in 5 days, the game against Michigan in 33 days. There are just 5 regular season games left for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and the team really hasn't truly been tested on both sides of the ball in the same game yet this season. That might change this weekend at Happy Valley, but before we turn the page to the Nittany Lions, let's take a final look back at the 54-10 win over Iowa. The Buckeyes definitely weren't challenged on defense. They held the Hawkeyes' sad sack offense to 2.2 yards per brush, 3.4 yards per pass. It is almost impossible to tell you exactly how bad that is. They forced 6 turnovers, 1 for 13 on third downs. But things were a lot tougher on the Ohio State offense, which struggled at times in the red zone and never really got the running game going. So after the game, Ryan Day said it was kind of a combination of a strong Iowa defense and some kind of just weird circumstances in the game.
Yeah, interesting game when you start off with so many balls and plus territory there. You know, you look at the end of the game where the score could even been different. But Iowa does a very, very good job up front, and they take away so many things in the middle and force you to really throw the ball. And we didn't do as good of a job executing running the ball early on, but we knew that it was going to take time to crack. That's just the way they are, and so I thought we played really. Good football there in the second half, got a good balance going a little bit. But, I mean, that kind of goes back to what we're talking about, is when someone's going to stop one thing, you got to be able to do the other. And I would have liked to definitely execute it better on offense early in the game. But I think the story is about the defense and how well they played. But good to finally pull away there in the second half.
It was not exactly a masterpiece on offense, but Day said there is something to be said for just continuing to fight when things aren't going well and ending up with a dominating performance in the end.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's I guess not what we're used to here, but that's the reality of it. And certainly the fact that there was 56 points on the board, a big part of that was the defense today. But when you're playing against a really good defense, a top 10 defense, it's not just going to happen all at once. It's not going to be fireworks every series. But I give Noah credit. We were able to put points on the board and keep that momentum going, and we felt like our defense was playing well, and we felt like if we had scored, a few of those touchdowns down there in the red zone, it would have been a different first half. But that's okay. A lot to learn from there and grow.
One thing that made people wonder if something weird was going on was the fact that the Buckeyes burned multiple timeouts on offense down in the red zone. So what was going on there? What was Day seeing that he just didn't like?
Well, I get frustrated with myself first because, there's just so many scenarios you try to go through down there. And we had a bunch of at-bats down there. And it's hard. They do an excellent job in the red zone. Historically, they've done a great job. And, you try to get exactly the right call based on the hash, based on where it is. And certainly in the first half, I think sometimes those timeouts are a little overrated because, typically you don't need them as much as you do in the second half. So when you're down in the red zone, if you have the right play, good. If you don't, I think historically we've decided to take timeouts if we didn't feel like we didn't have a really good look there. One in particular, we had a good play up. It wasn't the look we expected. There was a guy coming off the edge, and we knew we had a bad play called, so we got out of it. Another time, we just wanted to think about it a little bit more. Another time, Jackson, I think the ball was on the ground maybe, and there was a pile up on the ground. And, they rewound the clock at 25, but it went really fast. And so by the time they got it, we looked up, it was like at 12 seconds. And I just didn't feel like at that time we wanted to run a play that wasn't a good play. And, my fault. But I always, in those moments, I know how important those moments are. We know how important those moments are. We always want to get them, on the right call. We work so hard for that, and so mostly I just get frustrated with myself.
CJ Stroud finished the day with 281 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, but he did throw an interception and lose a fumble, and another potential interception was negated by penalty. But then he ended up looking much more like himself in the second half. So what was the difference?
I think we just had to get into a rhythm on offense. And when you game plan, you pretty much start your mindset on the minus 25, somewhere in there. And then you have plays that you work, and then you kind of get yourself into the red zone. And it was weird because we were kind of in plus territory all day early on. It just never got into a rhythm of just kind of throwing things, and because the field was getting a little compressed. And I think you saw when we had to move the ball down the field, we were a little bit better, and he got into a rhythm that way. That's probably the only way I could describe why that was. But Yeah, I mean, they're very, very good. They get their hands on balls. We had the one sack fumble early on. But we overcame it, and we kept pushing through. And we know that when we're playing against good defenses, things like that happen. But we can't continue to let those things happen. We got to learn from them and grow. But I think it was healthy for us to get a good challenge today.
For his part, CJ Stroud discussed some of the reasons that they looked a little out of sync at times, as well as some of the mistakes, and how he thought they played overall.
Yeah, the first half was kind of weird. I mean, it's tough starting with the ball at like the 30, 40, you know what I'm saying? And it's hard to build a rhythm right there. First half, we just got to execute better. It's good to get that under our belt, though, man, because, the second half of the season is very tough. And you can have games like that where you're not really clicking early on, and you got to get it going. So once we got it going, I feel like we became the dynamic offense that we know.
For the second time in the last few weeks, Stroud threw an interception on his very first pass of the second half. So what was he seeing on that play?
The look that we had the throw. It wasn't supposed to necessarily go to Julian. I got a little pressure, and I couldn't step into the throw I wanted to make. So I went to my second read, and he came in there. Julian did his job by coming in so far, but I got to remember that it's coverage back there. That there's nothing holding him. There's no routes over there. You know what I mean? So I got to just take an L and take the sack or get a couple yards rushing. So that's me. I just try to make a play happen. You know what I'm saying? And Coach Day and my brothers, they don't ever look at me and second guess me because they know right when we got the ball back again, we went down there and had about 4 dynamic plays. So it's all about this next play and not thinking about the pass.
We've kind of been nitpicking of Stroud in the offense, and so has virtually everyone else. And yes, they ended up with 54 points and 4 touchdown passes, but it didn't just look quite like you'd normally expect from them. So what does Stroud think about that kind of nitpicking? Is the standard that he's being held to unfair?
I don't have any expectations. I'm here to win. And that's for the fans, you know what I'm saying? That's like for the supporters. That's for them to marry up and think about all the crazy things that we're supposed to do. This is football, man. Like, Iowa is not coming in here to play, like, to give us anything. We got to go take it. So, and I think I told y'all that earlier in the week, is like they're not just going to back up and just give us what we want with like short passes. They're gonna challenge us, and that's what they did. So, credit to them, but credit to our defense as well, man. Like, our defense, they played their butts off, and I'm super happy for every single one of them. And I don't really, like I said, I don't have any expectations though. I'm here to win games, and if that means that I don't hold up to what everybody else think, then so be it. But I think I played well. You take away 2 bad throws and maybe 3, and everybody's gonna be different. You know what I'm saying? So you can't ride the highs, you can't ride the lows. You gotta stay steady head and listen to what's in your huddle. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what I'm on.
There was really nothing to nitpick on the defensive side of the ball. We talked about some of the stats off the top of the show, but it was as thorough a butt kicking as you're going to see, frankly. Now, let's be honest. Iowa's offense is a flaming garbage scow right now and has been all season. But still, defensive coordinator Jim Knowles came away with some things that he's feeling pretty good about.
I liked, again, it continues to me to be our run fits, right? The ability to stop the run comes first. Until that last play with the 2s, I thought all of our fits were strong. We're in the right place. We're able to do some things with multiplicity, and guys understand. They know where the ball's going to go, and they show up. So it starts there with the run fits to me. And then I thought some of our disguises were better. Some of our reads on routes, as you saw, that result in interceptions. So I like the way our back end is getting a feel for the different coverages that we implement.
Tanner McAllister is the player on the defense who Knowles has known the longest. He transferred over from Oklahoma State over the offseason after Knowles was hired away from there. So Saturday, McAllister had a pair of interceptions and has been a really consistent performer in the back end of Knowles' safety-driven defense all year. And it sounds like he's someone that Knowles knows that he can just trust.
He's always been a very heads-up player, always very coachable in terms of understanding the game plan and the scheme we're going to face. But, I saw him really take off last year in terms of playing with the confidence, because it takes a lot of confidence to do some of the things that he does. And then, the fact that he came here just showed me he wanted to even elevate his game even more. And, and it's great to see him making plays. He understands the scheme, and he knows what to do, and he's talented. Tanner's like a son to me. These guys, you become very close to these guys. So To see him, one, take the challenge, right? There's nothing easy about coming to the Ohio State and him, earning and proving himself all over again. And, it's always good to see someone succeed who you care about, and who's put himself on the line. And he's invested a lot in me by coming here. And like you said, the identity, the mentality of getting stops, third down, not giving up explosive plays, getting negative yardage plays, being aggressive. I mean, I think we saw that take a step today. I'm hopeful in terms of the defense continuing to dictate the terms of the game. That's the mentality that we want to have.
While it was pretty much just sunshine and optimism on the Ohio State side of post-game interviews, the vibe was quite different on the Iowa side. Kirk Ferentz is coming under increasing fire for continuing to have his son Brian serve as the Hawkeyes offensive coordinator. Iowa ranks among the worst in the nation in virtually every major statistical category. They haven't scored an offensive touchdown in either of their last two games. Now, the Hawkeyes made a switch at quarterback at halftime of Saturday's game, so if they're willing to try something different there, why aren't they willing to try something different at the coordinator spot? Doug Lamorice of Cleveland.com did a really good job here. He asked Ferentz several questions about that. Now, the audio set up in the postgame interview room doesn't pick up the questions, so you're just going to hear those answers. I'm just going to put the answers back to back to back here because they're all kind of related questions, and the answers kind of will flow together.
I'm sorry. Yeah, well, so I answered that question 2 weeks ago. I've never done that in my career. Don't plan on starting right now. Our approach has always been to address what's out there and see what we can do to improve. And it's been pretty consistent for 24 years, almost 24 years now, and that's the plan moving forward. It's been fairly successful. I think you're talking about two separate job descriptions and two separate areas of responsibility. I know people do it. I know it's been done. It's been done this year. Again, it's just not my preference. My preference has been to play it out. And there's evidence to show that, it's worked pretty well in the past. So we'll play it out, and then we'll do our assessments and our evaluations when everything's over. And the season's not over. So when the season's over, we'll make an evaluation. I think it's best for our program. It's got no bearing on who the person is. All right. It's just a matter of who is coaching our football team. Okay, the guys on our staff are guys I think that have demonstrated success. They're good people, and we're going to keep pushing forward. No, I don't feel like we're doing anything wrong. We've at least I've tried to treat everybody with consistency on our staff, past and present. Same thing with players. We've had 3 family members play as well in our program, and they got to earn everything they get, just like coaches do.
While there are some very, very legitimate questions about whether either of the Ferentzes are doing their jobs right now, there is no question about the defensive side of the ball for Iowa. The Iowa defense outscored the offense 7-3 on Saturday when defensive end Joe Evans came clean up the middle, stripped the ball from CJ Stroud, scooped it up, and scored an early touchdown. After the game, he talked about that play. I'm going to let you hear a little bit about that, as well as the story of how he got to celebrate that moment with his family. It's a little long. We don't normally do player things on the opposing team side, but I just thought this was an interesting story you guys might like. Just a little color to an otherwise pretty drab day for Iowa.
It was empty and went to empty. We sped the front up, so that means we're ready to go for a pass rush. Logan Lee looked at me and gave me a signal to what we call a U game. I go up and under. So just was able to utilize that. Logan did a great job of picking the tackle. I just came under. Wanted to do the best I could to, have a good hit. Had a good hit. Saw the ball come out on the ground, and then was able to scoop and score, which we work on every day in practice. So just kind of coming down to the fundamentals, picked it up, ran it for the touchdown. So, fantastic. In the moment, I felt just on top of the world. If you saw where all the parents were, that's where I ran it in, and I just looked at my family. Me and my dad, before every game, we kind of gave each other a little chest bump. So if you can see in the celebration, that's what I did. I looked at him and did that. So just kind of felt on top of the world there. Funny story. So my parents, they actually they live in Iowa City. Moved up here a couple years ago, and I go home for dinner every Thursday night. We have Thursdays off, so I go home for dinner, and my dad, jokingly, because he knew where the tickets were, he said, "Hey, if you score, just might as well run the ball over to me." And obviously I'm not going to do that. That's a flag. We were just kind of joking around, but then the opportunity came. I scooped it, and in my head, I'm like, oh, should I run the ball over to him? No, I'm not going to do that. So just did one of these to him, just knowing that. I mean, my family means everything to me. Just to be able to celebrate, obviously with my team, but like look at them and know that I'm thinking about them.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We always get good feedback on these shows. We're just trying to do something a little different. So we generally just do Ohio State. We can give you a little taste of the opposing coach and the opposing players, maybe give you a little different view of some things and sort of flesh things out a little bit in terms of who these teams are, who these players are, all that kind of stuff. They are actual real human beings on the other side, not just not just people you're booing every Saturday. So just thought that might be a little interesting. Give that a try, and we'll see if you like it. Well, you can keep doing it. And this weekend, we will be doing it on the road. We will be heading to Happy Valley on Friday, covering the Ohio State Penn State game, obviously. Tony Gerdeman, Kevin Noonan, and I will be there. We'll have the full pregame and postgame coverage, Wi-Fi permitting and all of that. We will be able to do that for you. We'll have all those postgame interviews, all that kind of stuff. That's the plan. We'll see whether Beaver Stadium cooperates, but we have a plan, so we'll see how it goes. But the Buckeyes have a plan as well, and we'll be talking to them about that all week as they get ready to head on the road for what should be their toughest test of the year yet, as they go into Beaver Stadium for a noon kick on Saturday. We will be there as well. Make sure you are checking us out at BuckeyeHuddle.com this week, all week long, in the lead up to that game, and then YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle all day Saturday, pre and post game, full coverage, live from Happy Valley. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.